This is a map from the early 1800s. As you can see, it says the Great American Desert on it. I think you can assume it's somewhere in America, but without some geography skills, you may be confused as to where it is. I think there's two clues on here. Santa Fe down here where my cursor is. A lot of you know Santa Fe's in New Mexico, and it's kind of on the edge of the map. So I know most of this map is east and north of Santa Fe. The other clue is the Arkansas River, if you know where that goes. What this is a map of part of the Great Plains region. Most of Kansas is included in this. So we go back, 1803, Louisiana Purchase. Thomas Jefferson buys a huge tract of land from Napoleon and the French. Immediately after that, some explorers went out to explore what the United States had purchased. We talked about Lewis and Clark in depth. This map has nothing to do with Lewis and Clark. Lewis and Clark went north of this, up the Missouri River to the Pacific. But the guy that created this map was Stephen Long, and he explored a lot of the Great Plains. He goes out and he concludes that this area in the map is the Great American Desert. And he concluded that because there were no trees. And back then, the general feeling was if you didn't have trees, it was a desert. Additionally, if it was a desert, you couldn't farm. So he wrote this. He says, I do not hesitate in giving the opinion that it is almost wholly unfit for cultivation, agriculture, and of course uninhabitable, not livable, by a people depending on agriculture for their subsistence. So he writes this, does the map, writes this. People think that this is basically a barren wasteland. This is the Great Plains. Great Plains is a lot more than the map you just saw, which was this region in here. Great Plains goes from the Mexican border all the way well into Canada. Anyhow, over time, people realized that this wasn't a desert. In fact, it was one of the best places in the world to farm. So suddenly this land is desirable. But before we can farm, there's some obstacles, if you will, that need to be removed. And the first obstacle is the bison. You can't have 30 million bison wandering around the Great Plains if you want to farm. So white hunters, for various reasons, took care of them. We also had Native American tribes. So the government and the military, they were responsible for moving these tribes and putting them on reservations outside of the good farmland. So now it's farmable, but where are we going to get the land? Well, we've learned one of these ways.